Hi, I'm Simon Hartley.
And I'm Helen Martin.
Welcome back to Pep Talks. Today we're joined by Michael Shinnick. Helen, how do you know Michael?
So Michael is the owner of the business practice and he's a sales and leadership coach. Michael has worked with our organisation, Cork, for probably the last 5 years, and he's mentored me in sales and marketing. So he's been on this journey with me for quite a while, and I'd like to say thank you to him. So when we were thinking about Pep Talks and really the small, medium enterprises that mostly we all deal with and their challenges, Michael is here today to kind of talk about that. So I guess one of the things we're going to start with really is talking about the best learning comes from when you're under extreme pressure. And how do businesses use this time and make sense of this time to do that? Not just learning for their staff, but learning for themselves so that they can emerge stronger, Michael.
Yeah, Helen, that's a good question. Great to be here. I think one of the main things that you bring up there is, I guess necessity being the mother of invention, and it's a pretty dire time for a lot of businesses. It's just like the tap turned off overnight in the middle of March, and their businesses has stopped. So the initial stage, I guess, was shock, and then government started to come out with help, which was pretty much unprecedented, to be fair, globally. That it's really, really strong. So the big thing there then was they were able to take a bit of time to relax and just plan. And I think that's what's come out. It's going to take a little bit. A lot of businesses are going to have to pivot, change their offering, go maybe a little bit more online, or just think differently about the services that they offer. And that's kind of you can look at that both ways. You can look at it as frightening, or you can look at it as a really big opportunity. And I think a lot of them are beginning to see that, you know what, given the benefits that we've got from the government and a little bit of if I can cut my cloth a little bit, which I'm helped there, I'm actually now able to think and take it on and see what I can use this as an opportunity. There's always opportunity out there. I think they say most millionaires are made out of recessions, and this is pretty much very unprecedented times. But that being said, it's not like the last time we had a big shock was 2008, 2009 financial crisis, which was a credit meltdown. That has not happened. So the banks are still ready to do business. They're still open for business, and they need to lend. They need to do business because they're borrowing money at nothing. Their interest rates are low, and if they don't get that money out to earn for them, they don't have a business. So they're anxious to do that. So the fabric of business, and the government are trying to keep the fabric of business together to create that bit of innovation, to get people to come out the other side of this. They're expecting it to be short term, I guess. That is the big benefit. They're expecting this to be short term. Otherwise, they wouldn't be, giving you 80% of someone's salary or 75 to 80% of somebody's salary. They can't do that indefinitely. So they are expecting it to be short term. So I think that's a form of solace. But I guess what I say to business owners is, okay, how are you going to come out of that? You need to know the government, what they have done, or the governments have done, have tried to retain the fabric of business. So you need to do the same to your business. No point in you cutting costs dramatically in every facet and ultimately damaging the fabric of your business. And what I often say is reducing the horsepower of your business when it comes out the other side. You really need to be ready to take the baton on when I suppose the doors are open, how quickly that's going to happen. If you're slow, if you cut something like your marketing or your sales force or people or your networking or just some costs that you feel that, like some costs you can cut, some costs you go, I don't really need that at this time, I can pick it up again later in the year. But there'll be other costs where you say, you know what, that's actually going to be damaging, and I don't want to do that because when the door opens again, I'm ready to go. And I think that's the exciting part. I think the main thing, my motto at this time is plan, don't panic. I think that's the key thing here, really. If you can, obviously, it's unprecedented times. It is tough out there. Get help, talk to people. I think that's the key realistically as well. It's going to be a lonely business being a business owner, as you probably know yourselves, guys.
Yeah, this is one of the really interesting things that I'm seeing in business leaders at the moment. Some, I think, are understanding that knee-jerk reactions are not going to be constructive right now. And some are starting to understand that if we make the wrong cost cutting in the wrong place, we're actually going to damage ourselves in the long term. Whereas others, I think, are probably just looking at the accounts, just looking at the P&L and saying, right, just slash some costs out of here without really understanding how that impacts on their return on investment in the long term. And there's a real difference in thinking, isn't there, between, and actually one person described it as, we're actually making good decisions that we probably should have made before. The costs we're cutting, we probably should have slashed a while ago. We probably shouldn't have been carrying them in the first place. As opposed to others who I think are just making some fairly panicked, knee-jerk decisions at the moment.
Absolutely, Simon. That's the battle that we have, you and me have, when we're talking to business owners like this. Is, okay, that's good. If you're forced to cut some costs that you're kind of going, yeah, we've been carrying them. We really should have been. They were a little bit nice to have rather than need to have, is the way I put it. They're nice to have, but then you can cut those. But the battle that we do have is, now seriously, for the next 2 months, is it okay? Can you carry that cost? Can you carry those people? Can you carry whatever? Because that's going to be quite beneficial on the other side of this. And you know what? You might have a leg up on your competition if you actually stay intact here. I think that's really the key. That's the argument that we're going to have, Simon, when we're dealing with business owners and key managers in businesses. But that's what we do, and we're there to do that. I'm an accountant by profession, so you know, people might think that I look at the P&L quite a lot. I do. I like the P&L. It tells you a lot about the numbers in the business. But I always need to look and see, actually, this is kind of key. You really do need to keep that cost going. You need to keep this, because we'll be able to come out of this faster as a result. And that's really the dilemma.
How do we plan then for the rest of the year, Michael? Because we've 3 90-day periods. Okay, we understand this one that we're in at the moment. You know, everyone understands this is not going to be, you know, we can be productive, but we're not going to be making money. But then we have 2 90 days. So to get us to the end of the year. So how do you plan for that now with that kind of uncertainty?
Yeah, there's an old adage out there about how to come up with a plan. You start with a dream, then you put a goal on it. And the difference between a dream and a goal is there's a time frame on it. And then you plan and you take action. The dream, you know, when you're talking to business owners at the moment and they're saying, you know, my goal or my dream at the moment is to pay the wages next Friday. Yeah, kind of the big long-term vision needs to just take a little bit of a back seat or maybe think about it. But as you said, it's to the end of the year we're kind of planning at this stage. It's the next 3 90-day periods. And the reason I like to kind of put the analogy of a 90-day period in the same as you look at your sat-nav, the screen of your sat-nav in your car. You know, you might have the map, you might have put the longer destination of where you're going plugged into the back of the sat-nav, but you only need to see the next 150 yards at a time. And that's really where business owners need to be. They need to just see the next 90 days and work through the next 90 days and get a plan of action for the next 90 days, because they'll get some momentum going. And I think momentum is key. Get the people to believe in the 90-day plan, their key team members to believe in that 90-day plan. Take it step by step. What am I going to do? It's 13 weeks, 90 days, whatever way you want to break it down. How do I actually now get my team motivated and get going in that? We'll deal with the next 90 days after that, but get moving now and kind of rally around the troops a little bit at the moment, because everybody's in a bit of shock. But you know, we'll come through that shock period too, and we need to be talking to our clients and our team about where they might see the opportunities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of those conversations that I've had recently is, you know, kind of some people are starting to realise that there is an opportunity now to put yourself in pole position.
Correct.
And they're starting to wonder, what would I have to do to put myself in pole position so that we can get ahead of our competitors? And actually, for a lot of them, the idea that the first thing we cut is marketing and training all of a sudden doesn't seem like a good idea anymore when you think about it in those those terms.
Yeah, when you put it in that perspective, it's absolutely right. They're kind of going, well, if you look and you work backwards and you say, well, where do we want to go? Where do we want to be after this? That's, to an extent, maybe actually dream like that. When we come out, out of this, when the restrictions are lifted, what do we not want to look like? And then you work back and you say, well, what would cutting your marketing or cutting this other expense do to that? Actually, that wouldn't work. So we scrap that plan. So you're absolutely right, Simon. It's kind of looking to where we want to be, you know, after this, where we want to position ourselves. You know, what are the opportunities that we can see? Do we need to pivot a little bit? Do we need to, as we said, maybe go a little bit more online? Maybe offer some more consultancy rather than, you know, there's different angles that you need to take. It'll be very different for different businesses. But if you actually keep the mind open and ask the how questions and the why questions, you'll probably come to the conclusion that cutting some and we're using marketing and sales as an example. There's plenty of other costs that can ruin the fabric of a business if you cut them out. But just using them as an example, you'd probably come to the conclusion that maybe that's not the best idea, that actually we could fare a lot better if we actually possibly even invested a little bit more in this. And Helen, I think you mentioned earlier about, well, yeah, maybe not selling at this point in time, but there's other key things that you can be doing. I'm talking to a lot of my clients at the moment that say the first thing you do is pick up the phone. Pick up the phone and talk to your current clients. Ask them how they're finding things. Don't try to be selling. Not doing that at the moment, but keep your visibility and your credibility up at this point in time. So whether it's social media, your LinkedIn, your Twitters of the world, or picking up the phone, do it the old-fashioned way, but just pick up the phone to key members, key team members, key stakeholders generally, and just keep in touch, because that is what is going to be remembered on the other side of this. Because it's really going to be quite short. It feels like hell and a long time at the moment, but in the grand scheme of things, this won't be that long, hopefully. You know, so it shouldn't be. If we're talking about whatever, we don't know, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, whatever. It's going to be short in the grand scheme of things for the life of your business. So keep the visibility and the credibility up now, and be there when maybe other people are putting their head in the sand. Be different.
Yeah, and I think the thing we've seen actually is that brands are using the opportunity to preserve their brand, which is right. But in the beginning, it was like everybody was trying to do something and give out a message. And some people got it very right, and some people got it wrong. I think we've seen the Adidas one where they were saying, we want to keep our stores open and our people in work. Well, actually, shoes aren't that important. You can buy them online, you know. But we've seen people like Primark now filling bags for the frontline workers, and that's a really positive message. And I think for us as a brand, I mean, we're very lucky and that we have a strong brand, but I think you have to give something back. And that's when you're communicating now, it has, how can we help? If it's free training, support, whatever, let's keep you on track so that when you come back, you're close to us, we've helped, we can do it together. And I think the communication, actually, I did read recently that the telephone calls, the numbers of telephone calls is up, and that's kind of interesting, because we've got to a stage where really people want to communicate online the whole time and in WhatsApp and whatever. So I think that's quite a positive thing. As you say, Michael, pick up the phone, have a conversation. It's not about selling, but it's about inquiring and asking and communicating.
Exactly. I know sometimes small business owners glaze over when we talk about branding and preserving the brand, but they shouldn't, obviously. But one of the main things is it might be their personal brand. Just by you as a business owner, or you as a key sales executive, business executive, marketing executive, you're picking up the phone. That's your personal brand. So build it during this time. Be different, stand out. And also, I think you mentioned there, be very, very cognizant of the humor or the kind of sentiment that's out there at the moment. People are not liking the salesy aspect at the moment. So just be cognizant of that vibe, I guess, that's out there, and be aware of that, and just position yourself right on that. And that's why I say, when you're picking up the phone talking to business owners, don't try to be selling them stuff at this time. Just hear them out. It's a time to listen, I think, at this point in time. You know, 2 ears, 1 mouth, use them in those proportions. Just listen and keep quiet for a while, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's some really, really wise words in there. Are there sort of some absolutely critical things that you're talking to business owners about consistently now to help them get through, some real sort of fundamental principles?
Yeah, besides, like, obviously we've mentioned the whole planning side. That's absolutely, we'll leave that one for the moment, the next 90 days. But to get any plan in motion, it's actually about execution. You know, keep learning is one of the main things I always say. Keep learning, keep looking. What are people? There's a lot of people out there with good podcasts and good YouTube channels like yourselves here. Just keep listening to that. But, you know, execution, my motto, execution always trumps knowledge. At the end of the day, just get out there and take some action. Do one thing every day. You know, whether it's talking to one client, but just do something, because the days can pass. You know, even when we're in lockdown and isolation, the days can pass. You know, it'll take forever at times, but they do. But do something, one thing for your business. Just I think the main thing is just keeping a little bit of momentum. Get a couple of wins on the board. And the one thing is, if your team members are furloughed or they're at home or doing whatever, please keep up the communication. Over communicate, if anything else. Get back in touch to make them feel involved, because you're involved in the whole, you're involved in the front line. They're not anymore. And they still need to feel involved, because when we come out the other side of this, you need them involved. You need them 100% involved and included in that plan that you have. So the key thing is keep the fabric of the business together. Don't be cutting costs, and don't be cutting unnecessary costs.
Yeah.
So some costs, we've been through that, but also keep your team intact. If they're furloughed, that's fine. That's all good. You take advantage of the scheme that's there. Or, in Ireland here, it's a very similar scheme. So that's fine. I'll do that, but keep in touch with them and make sure your line managers do exactly the same. Your management team. So, I'm sure Zoom shares are doing really well at the moment, and rightly so. Everybody's heard of Zoom. It's the latest thing. It's what's hot at the moment. So use it. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
I think, and that's the key thing, I think, Simon, really going forward.
Fantastic. Michael, thank you very, very much. Helen, thank you very much. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again on another episode of Pep Talks. Take care.
Very welcome.